Chairman Yarmouth and to the ranking member for holding today's hearing on the Congressional Budget Office's budget and economic outlook. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to Director Swagel for appearing before us today and providing insight into the year's budget and economic outlook. I believe CBO is invaluable to our work here in Congress, and the release of this report will help us begin the conversation on addressing fiscal issues. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Prediction Center recently announced that they are predicting an above normal Atlantic hurricane season. The Virgin Islands specifically is still recovering from Hurricane Irma and Maria. Could you tell me how our climate-related disasters and storms expected to affect the federal budget and economic outlook?
Yes, Representative Plaskett. So it's something that we have done a lot of work on, and that is embedded in the economic baseline that we produced yesterday. So we look at the effects of climate over time, affecting the economy and affecting the fiscal situation, both through the effects on things like agriculture and construction, and then through disasters, through wildfires, which is very important right now, and hurricanes. And those both have a measurable impact that reduce GDP and therefore reduce revenues over the forecast, and that is in our baseline.
Great, thank you for that. You know, we hear a lot of discussion surrounding inflation, and it is, of course, something that Congress cannot ignore, although we recognize that this is a global issue that's occurring. Prices for groceries, housing, gas, and other forms of energy are steadily rising. You saw the House recently passed a bill with no Republican support to lower gas prices by cracking down on alleged price gouging by energy companies. The House and Senate both passed versions of a bipartisan U.S. competitiveness bill that will strengthen supply chains and lower costs for American consumers. What additional acts can Congress take to mitigate the effects of inflation? We cannot just complain about it, we have to do something about it. I know that my side of the aisle is working steadily to do that and are trying to work in a bipartisan. What are some of the suggestions you have for us to do that?
Okay, no, and I should just preface what I'll say is that CBO, we provide analysis and not policy recommendations. So I will give you some examples of supply constraints that are affecting inflation, and just please, be aware that this is not my saying you should do this. Is it just I'm answering the question.
I love your disclaimer. Very smart. Okay. Thank you.
It's really the key to this organization is set by Alice Rivlin from the beginning, that we don't provide, we don't tell members what they should do. There's supply constraints in affecting the economy and labor markets and product markets in international, right? So one is tariffs, and we have a write-up of that in the report that tariffs are raising the price of many products, anything with steel, anything with aluminum. And we have a tariff on infant formula. The CBP until recently was, I guess bragging is the right word, of keeping out infant formula, and obviously that's changed. But that's the sort of impediment of trade policy. So that's one. We talked about immigration before. I mentioned childcare. I think again, I'm speaking a little bit on behalf of CBO employees. Getting clear guidance on childcare and the pandemic and the virus would be helpful. And then energy. You mentioned energy. There's energy transportation. The Jones Act instances raises costs for transporting goods and services, and energy is part of that. And there's other provisions that could be taken. So again, CBO wouldn't say what to do, but there's anything on the supply side would help reduce inflation.
So thank you very much for that answer. And with so little time, I just want to yield back and thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. And thank you so much to the witness for answering the questions and being a policy advisor on letting us know what policy affects those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlewoman yields back. Now recognize